Welcome to this video. Rep C here. We are going to look at four things that you must do in your first year as a pastor. Four things you must do in your first year as a pastor. But before we get into that, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell so that you will know when new videos drop. So let's waste no more time. Let's get into this. What do you do? And we're going to get deeper into these. What do you do your first year as a pastor? What do you do your first year as a pastor? And what summarizes your ministry is First Timothy 4:16. 1 Timothy 4:16. Memorize that. It says, Paul says, pay close attention. Pay close attention, say alto, to yourself and to your didaskalia, your teaching. So the sum of your ministry as a pastor is you take care of yourself and your teaching, your doctrine and your life. Guard how you live and guard what you teach. Guard how you live and guard what you teach. That right there. Guard how you live, guard what you teach. That is the summary of your job as a pastor. And when you get that first church, there's going to be there's going to be fear, there's going to be nervousness, excitement. But no matter how excited you are, prepared you are, and even how nervous you are, walk slowly through the crowd. Walk slowly through your congregation. What I mean by that, take time to get to know your people. Listen carefully to their stories. Every member of your church, no matter how big your church is, how small, every member has a story. Every member deserves to be heard. Listen carefully to their stories. Be tight-lipped. Don't gossip. The first year in your church, or pretty much any year, but especially the first year, do not gossip. Be tight-lipped. Remember what Jesus said, and this is going to get you a long way. And these are free. These are bonus tips. We're going to get to the four in a second, but these are just bonus tips. Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount in the Beatitudes, "Blessed are the merciful." Those who know that they've been shown mercy and those who show that mercy to other people. You as a shepherd are going to have to be gentle, and you're going to have to show mercy to the sheep. But also remember this: pride comes before the fall. Pride comes before the fall. So stay humble. Stay humble every year of your pastorate, but especially the first year. Stay humble. Stay humble. So, number one, what is the number one thing you must do the first year as a pastor? Intentionally pursue the lost. Intentionally pursue the lost. Notice what Jesus says. It's in every gospel. We call it the Great Commission. We call it the Great Commission. Go, therefore. Parunte, in your going, make disciples. That's the imperative there. That's the command. Make disciples, panta ethne, of all the ethnic groups. Mark 16:15, the same thing. Luke 5:27 through 32, Luke 15, in those parables. The first thing you do as a pastor is you intentionally pursue the lost sheep. Intentionally pursue the lost. Number two, preach the gospel. Preach the gospel. You tell. That is your job. You go and you tell. You tell every soul that comes through that door the gospel. Because you don't know if that's going to be, if that's their first time or is that their last time of hearing the gospel presentation. Preach the gospel. Notice what Jesus says in Luke's Luke's version of the Great Commission. He talks about in verse 47, and that metanoia, that repentance for the forgiveness of sins would be proclaimed, preached in his name to all the nations, beginning from Jerusalem. Preach the gospel. Tell every soul what they need to hear. Point number three, the third thing you must do in your first year as a pastor, baptize converts. That's part of the Great Commission. Baptize converts. Obey what Christ has commanded. You baptize converts. And then the fourth thing we do is we teach and we train believers or disciples, metates, disciples. This is a process. This is not a month thing. This can be lifetime. Teach and train believers. Teach and train believers. You baptize the converts, then you get them in and you train them. You teach. What do you teach? You teach on wisdom and discernment. You teach the major doctrines of the Bible: eschatology, hamartiology, pneumatology. You teach the priesthood of the believer. You teach the power of prayer and fasting. You teach and you train. You teach and you train. So, what are the four things again that you must do your first year as a pastor? Number one, you intentionally pursue the lost. Number two, you preach the gospel. Number three, you baptize converts. And then number four, you teach and you train believers. Yes, it's not going to be easy your first year as a pastor. You're worrying about sermons. You have people dying, funerals, weddings. You remember our verse in 1 Timothy 4:16. Let that be your pastoral ministry verse. Pay close attention to yourself and to your teaching. Pay close attention to yourself and to your teaching. So I pray that these four things will bless you in some kind of way as you begin your first year as a pastor. Maybe even you're in your years in and you look back and you can see these four things that you can implement in your second year as a pastor. So before you go, one thing I want you to do is in the comment section, if you've been a pastor for a year, for a month, type in some things that helped you get through your first year in the comments. Maybe someone will see this and it will bless them. Type down in the comment section below this video, what are some tips, some advice you have for a first year pastor? This is Rev C saying I love you, praying for you. Stay in the word, teach the word, keep your life up, and in all things, preach Christ.